G'day, I am Debbie O'Shea, and this is the Crescendo Music Education Podcast. This podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Turrbal people. I acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. They were the first music makers on this land. Thanks for tuning in to the Crescendo Music Education Podcast again with me, your host, Debbie O'Shea. I am about to chat to the lovely Anne Kay. Now, Anne has been on my podcast before, and I love her passion and her belief in the power of music for our young people. She has released a book called A Song a Day. We're going to talk lots about that, but that's not all, of course. We're going into a whole lot of things about the importance of music for our young people. And I'm fairly certain that you are going to love listening to what Anne has to say. Enjoy part one of my talk with her. I would like to welcome back to the Crescendo Music Education Podcast the wonderful Anne Kay. Hello, Anne.
Hi, Debbie. The other side of the world.
Oh, no. Isn't it wonderful that it's almost a bit sad. I still get excited that I'm speaking to someone on the other side of the world in real time. It's amazing.
It is.
I love it. Now, I have invited Anne back, apart from the fact that I think she's pretty wonderful, and I have seen some of her latest projects, and we're going to talk a bit today about A Song a Day and how this brain prep for pre-readers and how these musical actions that people can take can actually change brains. So I think that's what this book is about. I have not purchased the book yet, and I absolutely will, and we'll make sure all our readers can grab this afterwards. We'll send everyone the link. And the other thing I want to say before we go on is that if you haven't heard episode 48 and 49, where I chatted to Anne about the Rock and Read project and the neuroscience and things like that, go back and listen to them as well. But I am so happy to have you back and tell us all about what you've been up to since we recorded those episodes, Anne.
Oh, Debbie, thank you so much for having me on. You are amazing, and you have such a wonderful following, and you've done so much. I'm going to open with not my book, but your book, because I just finished the stalagmite effect. I learned the difference between mite and tight from your book, and I resonated with everything in it. And it, as a person who's always trying to be creative and create things and help music teachers and help music education, help children, first of all, really. This is a highly inspirational book to me, and thank you for putting it out there. It really has given me more oomph, and strength to move forward, because trying to lead, it's not easy. And there are a few people around the world that I've connected with, and two are trying to do similar things that I'm doing, and you are one.
Oh, thank you very much, Anne. That is so lovely of you to say, and it sort of makes it worthwhile, doesn't it, when you know that it has helped someone. So thank you for buying and reading my book. I love it. All right,
absolutely.
Now, back to your book.
Yes. So A Song a Day started in 2021. I don't remember when we did our first interviews a couple years ago, but in 2021 we finished up, Rock and Read finished up a 5-year grant with $600,000. We helped 2,500 students, 2nd through 5th graders, with a karaoke style singing program. And in 13 and a half hours of singing with this songs repeatedly, like folk songs, very simple songs, right? At a child's grade level, On average, children make 1 year of reading gain after the intervention of 13 and a half hours. And we helped 2,500 kids in 25 schools, and then the pandemic hit, and we left 75,000 of that on the table. But schools did not continue. And so this is no secret that schools administrators may not believe that singing songs repeatedly could have that impact on reading. So I would say we do music. We do music for a multitude of reasons. Some are it's social, it's motivational, all sorts of reasons we do music making. But only in the last 10 or 15 years have we realized that music making, consistent music making, not experiencing or appreciating music and having a music experience. We're talking about the stalagmite effect. Day by day by day changes brains. And what do you know, from the neuroscientists and neurobiologists, they've found that singing and music skills develop auditory processing, auditory memory, beat synchronization, and phonological awareness. And so it isn't just singing or listening to music, it's actually doing the skills, keeping the steady beat, clapping the rhythm of the words, matching a pitch. Many adults have that problem with this, and singing in tune. So what I realized was babies are not making music much in their homes. And this is probably worldwide. It's not just in the US, it's fading. Western cultures who have lots of education seem to have gone away from daily music making in the home. So I thought, well, what if I wrote a curriculum for preschool teachers and kindergarten teachers, because these children hit school and they are not reading well. So in the U.S., our last national assessment of reading found, that was just done 2024, reported in 2024, I'll just say 39% of our children at 4th grade cannot read at a basic level.
Oh.
And people talk about proficiency, proficient readers, grade level readers. We've stopped talking about that here at Rock and Read Project. We're talking about, wait a minute, that's way over a third of students are not learning to read well enough to really be successful at all. And this is, so is it the way they're being taught reading? Or so I don't blame people. Teachers are busy, schools are busy. They're re-examining curricula in the U.S. now. Phonics kind of went by the wayside for a while, and it's come back in spades. And so the way we teach reading is very important. But I always think a kindergarten teacher knows. Within a couple weeks of school, a regular kindergarten teacher could probably tell you these kids are going to struggle with reading. Mm-hmm. Wow. It's their brains. So I always say it's all about the brain. It's not about the teacher. It's not about that. It's the child's brain. It's not about what ethnic group, what poverty. Yes, those are all factors. But really what's causing the problem is the brain. So with this new information from the neuroscientists, I thought, well, what's out there? There are many musical materials for early childhood. But is there anything that says you got to do this today and then tomorrow and then the next day, like the stalagmite effect? I couldn't find anything. There's like pick and choose activities, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But what we know as musicians is you got to practice. Whatever you practice, you're going to retain. So I built 50 lessons. I wrote 50 very short lessons, 10 to 15 minutes, so that classroom teachers, not music teachers, classroom teachers would do it. The goal is that a child is singing every day. And the kids would love this material so much that they would sing it during their day anyway. So the whole thing would be sing the day away. I want the teachers to be singing and chanting all day because I want the children to be singing and chanting all day. And certainly we need music teachers. I am a music teacher. So, of course, but I find that classroom teachers who do these things realize, oh my gosh, we need more music teacher time. All of a sudden, basic skills become very important because there's ramifications from basic skills. So lesson number 1, then you do lesson number 2, and it's direct instruction. Teacher says this, kids do that, these are the songs, and then 5 days of the same songs. These are pre-K and K. 5 days of same songs and chants. In fact, the first 5 are just chants. Because I think a lot of adults who are teaching young children are afraid to sing. So then we ease into it, and then second group of 5 are very simple songs that they know already. So we're starting with nursery rhymes. And so someone wrote on social media, well, are these original songs? And why would I buy it if they're, and I wrote, it isn't about the songs. You could do this sequence with any songs in any language. It's the kids' skills. And so the closest I can come to it now is when a child learns physical taxonomy of development, right? First they're scooching across the floor. Then they're pulling themselves up. Then they start to walk. And then they start to run. Probably that happens before they can jump. Then they learn to hop 1 foot. These are developmental skills. So I say it's the same thing. I haven't found anybody teaching a taxonomy of musical skill development unless you start at kindergarten and music teachers are doing it. But why wouldn't we do that when they are babies? So I say, we all know from the research that babies babble language. And they have everything they need neurologically when they are born to learn a language. But if they didn't hear talking and start babbling, they wouldn't learn language. They got to hear it. Well, if music teachers could talk like this, well, way before, a year before, right when the baby's born, they start warbling. I'm calling it warbling. Not babbling, not musical babbling. No, let's discern it's warbling. And it's with pitch and rhythm. And it's not words, but it's like, and I call that early singing. But I love warbling. And so if they don't hear warbling, singing from the parent or children in their environment, they're not going to do it, and they're not going to learn to sing. So we have a population in the U.S. that doesn't sing well, the adults. I just say they didn't develop it as children before they started school. So we're talking about being musically fit by age 5. Can you imagine, as music teachers, if every child walked in that door being able to keep a steady beat, clapping the rhythm of patterns, matching pitch and singing in tune? Whoa! So in this book I call it Brain Prep for Pre-Readers, a song a day. No, there's more than one song a day, but that's the idea. So the hooking together of the sequencing of skills is what it's all about.
But it makes so much sense. And there's big questions as to why the kids aren't getting the music that they used to, and the parents of the current children. Like you said, they're not singing to them. They're not, when you think about the way that I was brought up, my mum, who had actually very little education, but sang all the time. What do? You get a baby, you sing to it, you pat it, you rock it, and you baby. Play singing games and little rhymes and all of those things. A lot of, and I know generalizations, I apologize for this, but a lot of the current parents don't know those things now. So they're not passing them on. I think there's a whole lost nursery culture. I think there's lots of reasons for that. Screens. Time. I think there's lots of reasons, and we can't, I guess, address that, but we could help bring that nursery culture back of songs and rhymes and exposure. It's exactly as you said. Children are not going to learn to speak if they don't hear talking. The same as they're not going to learn the musical skills if they don't hear singing and chanting. let's not even talk about that loss of the play and the wonder and the vocabulary development and the rhyming and the phonetic
Exactly.
phonemes and all of the stuff that gets taught through these songs and rhymes unconsciously. It's lost. We need it back. So if your book can help bring it back. So is your book aimed more at parents or at more like pre-K teachers,
It's mostly
daycare
pre-KK.
people?
Yeah, and my goal, we're a tiny nonprofit, Rock and Read Project, and my goal is to make as much available free online as possible. So there's a free musical assessment that a parent can use. Can the child keep a steady beat? So it encourages them to download a free app on their phone that goes tick, 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 tick. It's a metronome. And so can the child match the tick with two hands on their lap? Can they sing Twinkle Twinkle, patting the underlying beat? I worked with someone, the person who published this, it's a Ventris Learning Publishing. They just published a couple years now, maybe 2 years ago now, year and a half, 2 years ago. They published one of the leading new reading curriculums in the nation. It's called UFly. It's from the University of Florida Literacy Institute. So when I began to talk to the publisher who owns the business, they also published some diagnostic tools, but it's always been about reading. And when I began to talk to him a couple years ago and told him I had written these lessons and I was piloting them with pre-K and K teachers, he was interested. So we just kept talking about it. Finally, one time we met and I said, well, would you publish it? Well, turns out I learned early about him. His first degree was music.
Oh.
So, yeah, so he was hooked right at the beginning of this. And he has someone working for him who wrote a white paper about the book. And he came from a publishing company before that. This guy did too. And so he was, Anne, there's a ton of research about this. I said, yes, there is. I have a 10-page bibliography. I sent it to him, and he found more on his own. He's written a white paper about the book. It's on the website. The background, the neuroscience that's already there. But the neuroscience is how brains process sound. That hasn't been here that long. And my main source is Dr. Nina Kraus at Northwestern University, who runs the auditory neuroscience lab. And they can predict this 3-year-old with neural nets on the brain is going to struggle with reading by the way they process sound. They haven't even been taught to read. So I think for music teachers, which is your main audience, what I'd like to say is I grew up thinking I was like different. Oh, you got that special gift or talent, I didn't get that, but you're a music person. Well, what? Surprise, surprise, how many decades later, maybe we found out that our brains are actually more agile. Dr. Nina Kraus has found that adults who played an instrument, even if they as a child, even if they haven't played in 40 years, have better auditory processing, better auditory memory, better hearing in noisy environments, and better hearing in general. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. So I've kind of rewritten the story about growing up as a music kid, different, special, blah, 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 blah. No, this should be for everybody.
Yeah.
It's all about the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. That everyone's nodding. I know. Everyone who's listening is going, yep, yep, we agree. We agree. And that's so wonderful that you were published by Ventris, that they've given you that support.
Yes, it's and sales are slowly coming. We hired a social media person in June to try to beef up our social media, and we've kind of run out of money for that. So it kind of kicks back to us. It's not easy, and so yeah. But again, this project that dovetailed with it was we got a grant from a neighboring town, and we held music sessions for families with young children, since we're now focused on before kids get to school, right? And getting the message to parents that singing and music skills are highly helpful to their children. In fact, highly correlated with reading achievement. And if parents know that, they perk up, they listen, because everybody wants their kids to learn to read. Mm-hmm. They're not so sure about music making, but if you hook those two things together. But many people have said to me, singing is connected to reading? I'm like, well, yeah, it's language, you know.
Yeah, and that's the message we've got to get that message out. Get that message out.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned vocabulary, Debbie. I mean, how would you learn vocabulary at 2 years old? If your parents singing you songs all day, you're going to have a huge, larger vocabulary than anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, I'm certainly going to, as soon as we stop recording, I'm going to be purchasing this book. Do you know if we can purchase in Australia?
I have no idea, since we
okay.
Since we don't we're not selling it ourselves, you know. That's Ventress Learning.
Right. Well, I'll just say for me and my listeners who are Australian, and I do have listeners overseas as well, I will look into how we purchase in Australia, and I'll put that information in the show notes. Even if I contact Ventress and have a chat to them, we'll see what we can do. But if you are listening and you're in the States, we will definitely put a link, and people should buy this. And okay, I can tell you what some of the hesitations might be with people listening. People like me who you go, well, I know all this stuff that you're talking about. I know that's a fact. I know. The kids that arrive on their first day in prep, well, prep's our first year at school, you can pretty much go, you, and you, I love you, but you're going to struggle with reading. You can see it in your very first music lesson, can't you?
And you can hear it, like they sometimes don't have put full sentences together, or
yes,
or the grammar, or the whatever, you know. These are clues.
Yes,
the oral language.
They struggle with beat keeping. They struggle with pitch matching. They struggle with coordination. You know, so I think though what your book would offer people who are trained music educators is a way to help hook in the classroom teachers, and you can help support them to put more music into their room. And I'm not saying a music teacher wouldn't learn from your book. Of course they would.
It's not for music teachers because they see the children once a week or twice a week. So we want that child singing every day.
Every day.
Oh, yes. So recently I went to observe someone using the book in a nearby school. And she's a reading teacher. And she bought it. She was so excited. She's also a singer, but she has a master's in reading, and she's the reading specialist for the elementary school. Well, she convinced the kindergarten teachers that she could come in and do these lessons twice a week. She says, I know it's not 5 days a week, but twice a week. That's good, but it would be better if the kindergarten teachers were doing it, because the kindergarten teachers then learn along with the children. Like, some of them don't sing well in tune, but by attending to pitch, by using a pitch pipe, by using a metronome, on their phone, free on their phone. Who can match? And so the teacher's doing it too. And what we've had in the pilot group, the pre-K teacher, this was a kindergarten teacher, was really scared to use this. And I say, no music background is needed to teach these lessons. And why? Because they learn right along with the kids. She got so excited halfway through the 50 lessons, she had a break, and she went to her nieces and nephews' house, and she taught them the songs and games because they were so fun. And I'm like, wow,
yes. What
happened to you? Well, she got over herself, and actually, my supposition is that by listening to pitch, matching it, it only takes a few days for children to tune right up. But they have to know that this is what we're doing. We're trying to match this pitch.
Yeah.
And then, they're hearing other kids sing, and so it's not just singing. It's, we're going to match this pitch.
Yes. Yes.
I have videos of babies pitch matching, and the earliest I've ever pitch matched with a little baby was 3 months old, and I was at a meeting, and I went, the baby was fussy. I got the baby from mama next to me, and I went, ah, and baby was like, what? And I went, ah, over and over until baby echoed me every time, perfectly in pitch.
Wow.
Well, so I was like, and the mom said, what are you doing? I said, I'm pitch matching with the baby.
Well, okay, I'm going to have to share this story. Oh, it's a story. It should have been in my book. But anyway, okay, this is a story about Tom, my first child. So he is now 32 and 6'2". And anyway, but tiny little baby. And we were living in Cairns at the time. And he was, basically pre-verbal, and he did everything early. He was an early milestoner, so pre-verbal. And he pitch matched, like out of the blue, me, Ray Doe. It was, I sang something, and he just went back, exactly in tune. And I'm going, and I contacted my music teacher friend, Anna, and said, Anna, guess what? And I would have thought if he did anything, it would be so me, because we've got, the big pedagogical discussions. Well,
of course,
we had this big discussion, no doubt over a glass of champagne. And my husband, who is a carpenter, non-music teacher, he actually does sing in tune, but he's completely had no music training at all. And he goes, yeah, of course he sang those notes. And I went, what? It turns out when he had his turn of walking and patting Tom, because of his limited early childhood music vocabulary, he did basically Hot Cross Buns, Three Blind Mice. He just did all the time. He went, all the time. And this little baby then is going, because he's heard it over. Mind you, he wasn't a good sleeper. We spent a lot of time walking and patting. Okay. And they absolutely are ready for it.
Yes. In my presentations, I have many videos of babies, because I don't think parents, or I just did last week an early childhood, 50 teachers for a whole school district, all of the early childhood teachers. And that included SLPs, speech language pathologists, social workers, a psychologist, and they were some working with babies and some with pre-K, and they were all there, 50 of them. And it was a 3-hour workshop. And then they worked at their own tables with each other. And by showing them the videos, then they go, oh my gosh, this is really possible. Which reminds me of when I was a music teacher, and then I was teaching I established a Kodai certification program here in Minnesota. I remember the first year I taught, actually it was 1985, and I brought in kids at the end of the course. And I did a lesson with the kids. And people were like shocked. It was like the second day before the end of the course. And they said, I know you said this approach works. We've just barely heard about this approach. We don't know what this approach is. But when we saw the kids, then we knew it does work. And they love it. I said, oh, yeah.
Magic.
But I was like, so just like interviewing for a job, to me, if someone's interviewing for a music job, have them teach or have them show you a video of their teaching, because we can all sound good, but are we really good? You got to see us with kids. So that was my idea behind the book, that I wrote these lessons, but are they any good? And I had a person working with me and giving me feedback. And then I wanted tried them out. And so with the feedback of the pre-K and K teachers, I modified them again. And they're going to be nothing surprising to music teachers, but they are for classroom teachers. And again, who's in the center? The child is in the center. The child needs to make music. And so some of the testimonials from the teachers were like, they just want to sing all day now. And I'm like,
Yes.
That's the goal. Sing your day away. It's not just a song a day. A song is all day, singing all day.
So
that's what their little brains need to do.
It's all about those daily habits and reshaping the brains. Look, I love it. Now, look, we're going to bring this episode to a close because I'm going to have Anne Kay back again because she's wonderful. So I would like us to leave with one nugget of fabulous. So an idea from your book, maybe. Something that everyone could start tomorrow that would make a really big difference, whether they're a music teacher, classroom teacher, parent. What's something they could do to start tomorrow?
Well, just what we said, sing your day away. Don't worry about how you sound as the pre-K teacher. And I think my takeaway to music teachers is to reach to your pre-K teachers, to your kindergarten teachers who are struggling teaching reading to many of these children, and say, I have a book for you. So one of the, in our there's a main publisher or marketer, not publisher, sorry, marketer of music materials in the States, West Music in Iowa.
Yes.
And West Music has agreed to put the book, A Song a Day, in their catalog, even though it's not for music teachers. Yeah. And I'm writing a little blurb to go with it. Imagine if what I said a little earlier, imagine if all the children coming into your first class for kindergarten or first grade, wherever you get the kids as a music teacher, and they can already have these basic skills down pat. They're not reading music or anything, but they're singing in tune and they're clapping rhythm patterns with no problems. And so this is the idea that they would tell their teachers and parents about it, especially homeschooling parents. That is a market for us. I'm trying to really, this is a movement that is going to take a while for people to understand that just like physical development, just like language development, there's musical development, and it starts prenatal. It starts at 4 to 5 months when the baby can hear in the womb.
Or, as Kodai says, it starts 9 months before the mother's birth.
Mm-hmm. I know. And really, that really gets at it. I posted that one time, and people said, "What are you talking about?" But what we learned, I'm a Kodai and ORF certified and Delcro's person who taught the Kodai to teachers because I felt that structure mattered, daily practice, that Monday's lesson should hook to Wednesday's lesson, not just experiences, but to build skills. So I've always been a skill builder.
I love that.
I think that's the pitch, that music teachers reach to their classroom teachers. I've also been teaching, I taught a course since 2005, Want to Teach Reading and Math, Try Singing, for Minneapolis Public Schools. And classroom teachers took it, and they began to sing their day away and to use singing games to practice, tweak them to practice letter sounds or whatever, math facts, whatever they were trying to make automaticity. So we were using singing to change the brain, early on. But now I'm much more specific about reading, because there's the most data, there's the most research about music making, auditory processing, and reading of any. People always say to me, "Oh, math, it's connected to math." I said, there's very little research about that.
I love it. Well,
it's reading. Thank you.
I'm going to have you back very soon, and I think we leave this episode with the message, sing your day away.
Sing your day away. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you for tuning in to listening or watching, because this is on YouTube as well, if you didn't know, to the Crescendo Music Education Podcast. And I am about to finish my chat with Anne Kay, all about her book, A Song a Day, and how effective a good singing, voice-based, regular music education program, how that can benefit young children learning to read. The proof is there. I think you're going to love listening to the second part of my talk with Anne. Welcome to the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, and today I have Anne Kay joining me again. Hello, Anne.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you from across the world. It's snowy here.
And it's really hot here.
I love that.
All right. And today we're still talking about Anne's wonderful book and her work, but we're also talking about how just the small steps that you take, every single one of you, everyone listening, has a ripple effect. You know, we know all those lovely sayings with ripples and butterflies and things, but it's actually true. And I think that Anne and I are kindred spirits. We're certainly passionate about our advocacy and how we affect long-term change and the way we think. So I think with this in common, our shared belief that we're making changes little by little. So if you didn't listen to episode 1, where we get into what's in Anne's book in more depth, go back and have a listen to that. But today, I guess, I just want to talk more philosophically, because Anne has purchased a copy of The Stalagmite Effect, which I wrote in 2025, early 2025, and you reached out to me and said that it resonated with you, which it's so exciting as an author to be told that. So I'd just love to hear what sort of made you pause and reflect, or what surfaced for you about your work and how things I said resonated with you.
I love your book. And part of that is that it isn't, there's no magic pill. I always say there's no magic pill, but musicians are smart folk. Your book is about being open to change and finding wisdom by going through all these different, decades of experiences as a music teacher and as a human. Because your book has a lot about music making and music teaching, and the joys of it, and some of the struggles. But it is in the struggle that I think that wisdom comes. And one time I said, on my gravestone, I think I want 2 words: joyful and wise. And then I thought about it for a week, and I thought, nah, I don't think it's the wise part. Because I think you have to go through some struggle, and I don't know if I want to go through that much. But yes, life is struggle, and life isn't fair necessarily. But can we glean from others? And so your book has quotes from a lot of people. It reminded me that to bring my mother into it, she's always said she's going to live to 100. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to. She said, well, if you don't want to, you won't.
Ooh.
And I think of that with your book. Small things like drinking a glass of water or 2 every morning, which is a habit you mentioned, and I do. I already do. And I think of my life as little habits. And they change, But little habits. I exercise. I actually was an athlete, tennis competitor, as well as a musician. So that idea that you can't be an athlete and a musician, no, but it takes a lot of time.
Yes.
But it's small, practice every day, whatever that is. And musicians are my heroes because we learn that very early, and we learn that music making is collaborative. And a lot in your book is about collaborating and giving honor and respect to the people you've learned from and worked with.
I think that's very important, and possibly one of the things that irritates me occasionally about somebody that may be in my circle is if somebody is, I guess, taking credit for like, it's not a solo journey, dudes. You've got to give credit to the people that have come before you, that you have learnt from, that you've built on their ideas. We're not starting from scratch, are we? It's funny you mentioned your gravestone. I've always said, I don't think I put in the book what I said I would have on my gravestone. This is what I want on mine. Are you ready?
Yeah.
She was not bored.
Oh, that reminds me. Who wrote I Will Not Live an Unlived Life?
Oh, that's a good one.
My partner, we've been together 18 years. We were both divorced. And I said when I was dating people in the 2000s, I was like, I have to say, I'm endlessly fascinating to myself. And he's like, why are we even going out? And I said, well, my life is better with you. It's more interesting, But I have a passion for what I do, and it has different forms. But I'm always finding something new to learn and to do. And that's, of course, why you and I resonate.
Yes.
Life is like, oh, what's next?
What's next? What can we do? What can we do to make this positive impact and to help that long-term advocacy? How can we convince people about the power of music for our kids? And
and that was so impressive in your book. You talk about all different ways you've been able to build music programs, large singing things, composing, all sorts of things in there. And it struck me how creative you are, but you also work really hard. And I think it was Peter Webster here who wrote a book about creativity, and he said creativity would be too much work if it were not such a passionate endeavor.
Oh, that is a good quote, and it's so true. And I do cop a bit of flack because, well, like at the moment, at time of recording, and this episode won't air till 2026, but we're on our Christmas break, and I have to do my crescendo work in my Christmas break because when I'm working full time in schools, there's very little time for anything else. And I wouldn't, not exactly copping flack for it, but most of the people in my circle, I hope you have a break, Debbie. Well, but I sort of am. I'm having a break talking to a fellow passionate educator in America. Isn't that a break?
It is, and I've connected with people. There's a woman by my name. She goes by her middle name, Maria. But someone said, you need to meet this woman. I said, where does she live? Saudi Arabia. Her name is Ann Kay. Ann Maria Kay. She goes by Maria Kay. So the first time we talked for like 3 hours. I don't know, we're like 12, 14 hours apart, whatever we are in time. And she has studied early childhood music making. And she had not gotten she didn't finish her doctorate. She has now. She's traveling all over to Turkey and all sorts of places giving talks. And she comes at it from a educator, not a music teacher. So we meet in the middle about brain development, of course. Oh. So passionate. And then a woman who started Upstart in Scotland, which is the whole idea of children going to school, of course, pre-K and whatever, but formal education starting at age 7. not at trying to force 3-year-olds to write with pencils, you know.
Oh, okay, no.
Play-based learning all the way up until, you know, formalized, and they've got parliamentarians they're trying to pass some new laws, and you know there's a big lobby. So by connecting with people like us who have these big ideas, I decided I can't do it alone. I need to get to know people. And also the idea of boiling something down that's there's wisdom in simplicity. The book I wrote, A Song a Day, is very simple and very simple, very straightforward steps. You know, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, but the power, yes,
yes.
But it is rocket science. It takes a lot of skill and knowledge to put things simply. And okay, another quote I quote pops in my head, that only the best composers should compose for children, because it's not, oh, look, that's just a kid's song. I can write a kid's song. No, you can't.
Yeah.
That's one of the most difficult things to do in the world.
Yes.
You know, and the kids' songs that are still around for hundreds and hundreds of years, they have survived because of the beauty of the simplicity. So I will say it is rocket science to put something in a really simple form. And what's the name of this play person that you're talking about? Because, now it's a long way off, and I probably shouldn't say it publicly, but I'm going to. Would you like to know the working title of my next book?
Yes.
Let the Children Play.
Oh my gosh.
And I would really like to look into, it's been a passion of mine for a long time. And I'm going to say this publicly, I cannot stand the pushing down of the formal learning down more and more, and little kids trying to hold pencils and write when they should be playing in the sandpit, singing songs, playing games, building with blocks. They don't have the fine motor skills yet to learn to write. The people that are pushing formal learning, and do you know what I mean by formal learning?
Yep.
Pushing it further down, they don't understand about children. It drives me insane. So I'm very passionate about that too, which is really connected to the music, isn't it?
Yep. And her name is Sue Palmer.
Thank you.
And she was the founder of Upstart. So I'm meeting with people around the world and country who have started movements, and this is where I think we're at now. A lot of I realized, you know, I could help people be better music teachers, and I know a lot of great music teachers. But in Minneapolis Public Schools, they get to see the kids once a week.
Yeah, here
I would
too.
say once a week, kids get to eat. That's kind of how I look at it. No, people look at me, what are you talking about? I said, if we were all singing every day in our regular classrooms, we would have a happier, more adjusted, wonderful place. We haven't figured that out. It is not the music teacher. It is the behavior of the child.
Yes. Yeah,
but we need more music teacher time. The only programs have still gotten cut here. It's a terrible battle. And I believe that if the population understood the ramifications or effects of music making, music skills, singing and music skills to be specific, on young brain development and the ancillary effects of reading, I think we could turn everything around. But music teachers, we should be talking in terms of music competence, or I call it musical fitness. So we're trying to start a movement in Minnesota called the Musical Fitness Movement. And it's not about doing push-ups. We've got emotional fitness, we've got physical fitness. Let's have musical fitness. Now, we can argue all day what that means, but that's why I say basic music skills. how far we go in those skills, whatever. But that children who have basic music skills, their brains are different and they're more able.
Yes.
So
And
it needs to
that's
start early. So how could we get this information to parents? So we're planning us all over the U.S., maybe, I don't know about Australia, but we're having these science of reading summits because people are examining the way they're teaching reading, and curriculums are being thrown out and new curriculums are coming in. And there's a lot of attention on the science, what the scientists say about how brains learn to read. But nobody's talking about what the scientists say about how brains learn music and that there is some link to the reading. A reading brain, a musical brain is a better reading brain. Okay, well, how do we get this to the public? How do we get this to the parents, the preschools? I've decided it's by holding a big summit. We're going to hire a neuroscientist or two to come to Minnesota, and we're going to hold a summit, and they can tell the people at the summit, all the early childhood organizations, the reading organizations, the music organizations. So my goal is to get it rolling and then to form a coalition, musical fitness coalition of organizations that will continue the work and write action plans. Once they've heard the research, I don't think you can walk away without not knowing that you should probably do something. Mm-hmm. But it is not up to the music education profession. It is not. It is up to us to speak in ways that could start a movement. And by only having specialists, we don't think about, okay, these are my violin students, these are my band students, these are blah, blah, blah. No, this is a way of thinking that's very different than most music teachers came through the systems. We learned how to teach music, well, to the kids that we have. This is a way of thinking about all people, all people from prenatal on. And what could our society look like if everybody was making music and making it competently? So
that is a very long-term plan, isn't it?
Yeah. So my goal is to hold it in the fall.
Yes.
September 2026. And we have many supporters already, organizations that are supporting the idea. We have an Institute for the Developing Brain at the University of Minnesota here, and I've met with them. I met with the Minnesota Orchestra education folks. I've been meeting with people. So to me, we don't do anything without partners. Everything is, to me, collaborative, and it takes more time to collaborate, but it is always worth it. The sum, of the parts is greater than the parts.
Absolutely.
And so we have to, and so I just spoke to our national organization is called NAFME, National Association for Music Education.
Yes.
The largest organization in our nation. And I spoke to their advocacy person. She's the state advocacy person. And I said, I just want you to know we're starting something in our little state. And I want it to grow. And where did it come from? Well, when I grew up, if you asked people if physical exercise was good for their health, you know what people would say? Well, I didn't, especially girls.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get that special gift. Maybe for athletes, they have to do exercises. And if you saw somebody running down the street, you might think there's an emergency. No one jogged. What are you talking about? Running? No. The average person did not know that exercise was good for health and well-being. 60 some years later, well, what happened was an orthopedic doctor in New York developed a physical fitness assessment. Very simple. Can you touch the floor? Can you lie on your back and hold your legs up for 10 seconds? Core strength and flexibility. And they tested thousands of U.S. kids and thousands of European kids. And what did they find? The European kids were pretty fit. But the U.S. kids, only about 50% could pass this little fitness test. And our president at the time was President Eisenhower. And it was the 1950s. And we were in the Cold War. And we were afraid. Our government was afraid we're going to go to war. Well, and you got soft Americans. Whoo! Are they going to be able to fight? Wow. And so Eisenhower established a council, Presidential Council on Youth Fitness. And under John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy followed Eisenhower, that council changed its name so it was for all people, not just youth fitness, adults too. And they published a free curriculum for schools, exercises, and they gave a presidential award if you could pass the test at the end of the year. You got a certificate. That program is still in place today, 60 some years later. And I will say that probably was the spark that transformed Americans' perception about physical fitness and exercise, that it should be for all people. Now, you could say, oh yeah, I know it's good. I should get more exercise. That's what you'll hear people say now. If I went up to somebody with a microphone, okay, is music making good for your health and well-being and brain development and reading? They'd say, oh, I didn't get that special gift or talent. Mm-hmm. I'm like, 65 years ago, we said that about exercise. So why not? We've got physical fitness. Now we all know that's good for us. We don't know that music making is good for our health and well-being. Oh, maybe for music therapy. I'm like, no. This is for brain development and health and well-being, certainly. So that's the idea. That's why I said musical fitness. And people are like, oh, well, what is that? Well, it's being able to do some basic musical skills.
Oh, well, you have to keep me updated on this summit because I can do whatever we can from our end to radiate that out too. And also I must get you connected with Together Sing, which is hopefully sending that same message. Rock and Read could be a partner. And because that's all just about telling people how powerful music is, and it should be part of our lives, and it should include that. But it is hard sometimes to keep the motivation when you have frustrations with systems and processes, and when you know something is so valuable and you keep hitting roadblocks. Is there a particular way you keep motivated, or is it just the passion is so strong you're just going to come back to it? You do not, like what I'm saying is, okay, you've just hit a big brick wall about something, funding or whatever, and you go bang, and you go, why do I keep hitting my head against this big brick wall or different brick walls? How do you keep yourself motivated?
I think, I learned a long time ago that I needed to talk with parents. So when I was teaching, I remember going to a first grade open house, and the regular teachers were talking, and they said I could have 3 minutes. And it was just the first grade parents there for open house night. We have these open houses in the fall when kids start. Oh, I got 3 minutes with these kids. So I got up there and I said, this year, I love teaching your first graders. This year, our goal is that by the end of the year, everyone's going to be singing in tune. Don't worry if you don't sing in tune. That's okay. Your children can still learn to sing in tune. Some children already know how to sing in tune, and when they walked in the door in first grade. But that's our number one goal. Well, at the end of this open house, there were some parents gathered around the other regular teachers, the first grade teachers, and I had a receiving line. This taught me something. Ooh. I had 15 parents waiting to talk to me. Parents cried. A mother cried. I've never been able to sing well. You think, and then another one, they just love coming to the music class. And I was just like bowled over, touched a nerve. Yeah. You can do that? But first of all, it always starts that they love the music class. They love what we were doing. But then I had goals for kids. And then I'd say, okay, kids, this is what singing in tune is. This is what it isn't. And, a child would be singing and I wouldn't match them. And I'd say, am I singing exactly like that? So they have to know what the goal is.
Yes.
But what I didn't realize was it touched a nerve in parents.
Yes.
And that reminds me of a big movement that happened in Hungary. And since you both of us were trained in the Kodai approach, and I ran a certification program for 18 summers for teachers, one of the there's a book on assessment in the classroom, a music assessment. It's an Oxford publication, and I co-wrote I was asked to co-write the chapter on the Kodai approach. So there's and doing that, I went back and I looked at what Kodai actually said. Well, he was a linguist, He was a linguist and musician. He understood this connection between speech, language, and music so intricately. But what I was most interested in is when they started the music primary schools in Hungary, Kecskemet, Hungary, where the children had music every day. Instead of the 2.5 hours a week, they had everyday music in their school. It was an experiment, and it was taught with syllables and tas and titis. And the Department of Education, Hungarian Department of Education, did a study of those kids as they got older. And supposedly, I don't know how they studied them or what the methods were. They outscored all the kids at other schools in all the academics, according to Jeno Adam. Jeno said that parents found out about this, and within 20 years or 25 years, there were 130 primary schools because parents wanted them. Mm-hmm. Wow, we've forgotten this. If parents knew that music making is highly helpful for brain development, I think they would do something different.
Yes, I actually, yes, it's, now you bring up parents, I think parent power is very underestimated. We've been talking about that with our campaign to save, because we're working to save music educators here in our state, because we've had an eroding of that, and I'm part of the campaign to save that. And I think it's a very underused resource, is our parents. I mean, who wants... Okay, you and I are pretty passionate, Anne. Mm-hmm. But if I said to you, who is even more passionate about that little person in front of us than us? And the answer is their parents. So that's right. Why are we not harnessing parent power? I really think
that's right.
We have to
speak differently, though. We have to speak about skills and what those skills do for the brain, because that's what my experience has been when I say, who knew that a child who can't keep a steady beat is likely to struggle with reading? Mm-hmm. That comes out of the neuroscience labs. On our website is a bibliography. You can download a bibliography of 10 pages of research. I keep it current. Neurological research and other research about the effects of music making on brain development and subsequent achievement. And there is a ton of data. There's so much data that I'm just shocked why we haven't been able to make more inroads about music education. But I think that we're our worst enemies in the way we talk about music making. We'll sometimes say, that child's not so good in these other things. They can shine in the music class. Well, yeah, but that's not the reason we do music. So we've grasped at a lot of different ways to explain music making, but I've boiled it down to me, which is very simplistic. It's competence. And it is simply, so I call it fitness, musical fitness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's musical fitness develops the brain, and the side benefit. I know it seems like for music teachers that we're going in the back door. One of my mentors said, these people who keep saying we do music to raise reading. I said, no, we do music making for, I don't know, we probably could name 25, 30 reasons. Mm-hmm. But aren't you at all concerned that what it does for brain development? So one of my heroes, I don't know if I talked about this, Eric Kandel wrote a book called In Search of Memory. So one of the things we do music making is for auditory memory. Well, he was a research psychiatrist, and he was shunned and made fun of, and he lost friends. Sometimes I have actually lost some friends over some of my stands for all children musically competent or musically fit. We do not do music for reading. No, we do music for music's sake. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do math for math's sake? Do we do English for English sake? No, we do it for human sake, and shouldn't we be interested? So Eric Kandel found out from his study of 1 foot large snails or slugs that he could see the neurons with his naked eye. And so you would stimulate the tail of this slug or snail, and what would happen, he would watch chemical, biological in the brain, what happened for that creature to have a memory form of being zzz of the tail. And he documented it. Okay, fast forward, people thought he was nuts. Fast forward, he won a Nobel Prize.
Wow.
He said psychiatrists should know that we're dealing with memories that are causing maybe problems for people. Shouldn't we know how those memories are formed? Yeah, yes. And so he wrote an autobiography for that, and he made it into a book, and it's called In Search of Memory. And he says, so why wouldn't music teachers want to know the brain development that happens when we become musically competent?
Yeah.
It is very helpful, not only for music making. So I say it's a both and. We're going to develop better musicians, but we're going to also develop people who are more able in a lot of different ways. The one that's been researched the most is reading.
It is definitely both and I think that a lot of, just an opinion, a lot of the perhaps opposition or antipathy, with what you're saying is that, yes, it's music for music's sake and maybe a threatening of your own position as the music expert, but honestly, if I could have day, I will do anything to help get music. One of my current schools, I'm developing a whole suite of stuff, and I'm going to the prep teachers because they're the most open, I guess. Would you do this? Would you do this? And I'm putting stuff on the shared site for them, and I'm making little videos if they don't feel confident. I want them to be doing music, and the feedback that I'm getting from them saying, isn't it great that they're doing, we love our music. Yes, of course you do. So we've just got to keep going, and you've got to not chase those quick fixes. Just build little bit at a time. And we cannot underestimate the impact that we have as music educators, well, educators generally, but music educators. Every little bit that our listeners can do, put something in their newsletter, speak at, you have a different name for it. We just have, when you speak to parents,
open house. We have open house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't call it open house. We have parent teacher information nights. That's really creative, isn't it? But get in there. Just keep sending those little messages, because I think that this is to draw a parallel between your book and mine, which is sort of completely different audiences. It's all about incremental change, isn't it? And not losing sight of our vision.
So vision, mission drives everything for me, for myself too. Every year the new year, I pick a new word to drive me. So I believe that how we're being goes into new doing, and then it results in having things. But if we do it backwards, I want to have this goal, and so I have to do things I really hate, and then I have to be a fussy person. No, but if I'm being, so I'm wrestling with my word. My main word last year was centered. So if I'm centered, what am I doing out of being centered, and then what do I have? That's to be revealed. What I get out of this. Another thing to have goals. I actually have goals too, but I think the important thing is how I'm being. I'm wrestling with the word magnetic, because I want to draw people to this idea of musical fitness for every child, and not be lecturing them or telling them. I want it to be attractive. Children who are making music are happier. Children who are making the idea is that it would be attractive, or like an induction stove that works with magnets. It's very fast.
That's a good one. Okay, I'll share you. Last year, for the first time, I decided to choose a word, but I couldn't. I had to have two. I couldn't. So my last year's words were influence and inspire.
I like the inspire one especially.
And
yeah.
So this year I'm still working on 2026, and as I've confessed in the episode before this, we're actually recording this. Actually, for me, it's Christmas Eve. We are recording this on Christmas Eve, and we will be aired early in 2026. So I've developed 2 mantras for myself for next year. All right, I'll read them to you. As I advocate for music education, Crescendo grows in impact and income. And it has to include, for me, the income element for the longevity of my passion. That's it. And my second one is, I do meaningful work with kindness, creativity, and persistence, and it supports me too. So I have 2 mantras. Yep. And I'm still trying to decide on my word.
I love it. I will put a plug in for reaching to parents in any way, shape, or form. We got a grant from a neighboring town where we put on an afternoon of music making for young families of young children. And I had English and Swedish songs and dances. Then another group came that was Spanish, and then another guy came, and he's Somali. So songs in Somali. We have 80,000 Somali people here who are immigrants, and actually I think that was the hit. He was young and vibrant, and we did dancing. It was really fun, and the pitch to parents that this is something to do every day in every language. I did a workshop. And then we developed music kits. I call them Sing Today, Read Forever. And they have little instruments and cards in them that say sing, hista, canta, in 3 languages. And then why sing, some of the research about singing and what it does for the brain development. And then how to do it, like how to download a free metronome on your phone. Tick, 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 tick. Can your child pat the beat? So giving them tools that are free. So all of those cards are on the website, rockandreadproject.org, for anybody. Also an assessment, musical fitness assessment that I developed is on there for free. So parents are like, oh, this is something I can do in any language with any music. Skills can be developed.
Oh, I love that. And I know all my listeners are going to go, oh, quick, get onto that website. So you guys Google it, but we will put it in the show notes. Yep. And if you're looking for the show notes, it's on my website, crescendo.com.au. So get into the show notes, download all that good stuff. I have just so loved chatting to you, Anne, except, I mean, I do love it, but you give me more to do. Like, I go, oh, good, I've got to do this now. Oh, I can do that.
If we could envision a world that, where the government starts every day with a song. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you say, I'm kind of depressed. And the doctor says, okay, I'm going to give you a prescription. Start moving and making music.
Oh,
Whoa. I mean, boom, that's transformation.
uh-huh.
If we could wave our magic wand and transform into culture that music making was just a natural thing.
Yes.
Again.
And I actually think that is your soapbox moment, where music education is it's just part of our culture. It needs to be part of our culture again. It certainly used to be part of our culture going back. It has to be there again, doesn't it? There's a part of us that's almost missing without it.
It feeds us, as we know. So now just, going in the back door, brain development is not the only reason we make music. We make music because it's great fun and motivating and socializing and social emotional growth and all of these things. But isn't it interesting that our brains are actually pretty agile and able? Mm-hmm. So, and all those skills that we learn through daily practice can be used in other areas of our lives, as is evidenced by the stalagmite effect.
Thank you, Anne. Look,
Yeah.
I think that's great. We all need to work on our musical fitness and our understanding, helping others to understand the importance of that. I think we've talked about our small actions making big impact, our daily singing, and even though we are certainly not quite spring chickens anymore, Anne,
No.
okay, that does not mean that we have less passion. In fact, it gives us more power because we have that lived experience to draw on. So you and I, we are so not giving up. Everyone
No.
needs to get a song a day and watch this space for our impact.
Thank you.
As we know, laughter relieves stress. Don't lose sight of the funny side of life. I asked the librarian if the library had books on paranoia. She whispered, "They're right behind you." Thank you so much for watching our Crescendo Music Education Podcast. For more information about all things Crescendo, including membership and music education resources, visit us at crescendo.com.au. Don't forget to like and subscribe.